Hello and welcome to Crescent Podcast. I'm your host, Lucy Jesse, and I run Crescent Digital Marketing, where I work with neurodivergent-led businesses to help them create engaging and authentic online content. A quick shout out to our fabulous sponsor, Purple Frog Signs. Check them out for all your signage needs at purplefrogsigns.com, and they're on Instagram and LinkedIn, so please go and give them a follow. So today on the podcast, we're joined by Dr. Ant. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thanks, Lucy. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
So why don't we just start at the beginning, because you've had a very interesting journey, let's say. Why don't you tell us about your background and what led you to where you are now?
We'll keep this nice and short, I don't want to be boring everybody listening or watching this, but I'll condense it down as quick as we possibly can and also get the key bits over the line as well. And do you know what, Lucy? I've always been in business all my life since I was about 13, and I've always worked, and I was brought up in a working household. You know, we didn't have much as a family growing up, but I always wanted to do the best I could. That was kind of hardwired in me from somewhere, I don't know where. And I worked and worked. I didn't do university, didn't do very well at school either, to be honest. And then sort of just decided to work and work and work. Now, to cut out loads of that middle ground, what I will say is that during my working life, because I've been sort of working since I was 13, so what's that now? That was 47 years. Crikey, that's a long time, isn't it? But when I reached the age of 50, I'd had several businesses under my belt. I always laugh about this. I had some super successes and some even more fantastic learning experiences from failure as well. And I think it's really important to understand that we have to fail to learn. And in this country, of course, we don't necessarily celebrate that. We always look at failure in a more negative way. But I've learned to actually change that and look at it completely differently. So by the time I reached 50, and the next bit I'm going to say, Lucy, is not showing off. It's just putting a stick in the mud, you know, because it gives me the ability to say what I say, really, and be who I am. And what happened, by the time I got to age 50, I was that self-made multimillionaire. I had everything that we think we want in this Western world. And I'm really carefully choose those words, what we think we want, right?
Yes.
So I had all this materialistic stuff, and you can tell I'm quite sort of like negative towards that by the way I frame it. But I had that great big multi-million-pound house and all the income, my two great businesses. I used to love my cars, so I created a collection of 19 muscle cars, American muscle cars. And that was another business I created, was driving experiences around Brands Hatch and Goodwood. And on a typical day, we'll put around 600 people through the seat of a track-prepared car around the race circuit with a qualified instructor beside them. So it was full on, you know, it was big times. But what was happening then was, I didn't know it then, Lucy, but I do now. But back then I was living in this place called deferred happiness. And what deferred happiness is I was always on the go. You know, I was always chasing that next golden nugget all the time. I was always chasing tomorrow. And I remember phrases, and I'm sure you and some of the listeners here will know these phrases. I was using phrases like, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get a new car. I'll be happy when we move home. I'll be happy when we're on holiday. My whole mindset was framed for happiness for the future. Now, the challenge with that, which I now know, but I didn't know then, is that when we set our brain on a mission to defer something for the future, everything around that topic becomes deferred for the future. So my whole brain was processing happiness in the future. So what happened was that because I was always deferring happiness for the future, I never actually experienced happiness in the here and now. And I can talk more about that in a moment, about where happiness really resides. But I was never experienced happiness in the here and now. I was always chasing, and I felt inside of me that I was not achieving anything, which is ridiculous, because when I look back on it, I achieved everything. But at that moment in time, I had no sense of achievement. So therefore, my sense of self-worth was depleting. My confidence was going down to the floor. My self-belief, everything was shutting down. And I ended up in such a dark place, Lucy. And just to warn listeners, I am going to talk about suicide, but I'm going to talk about it in a way that actually it brings it home from a realistic and very sensitive way, and with a positive outcome on that. So I just want to preempt anybody on that. So I ended up in April 2015 with all this worldly success around me, a loving partner, and we're still together today. I mean, she's my absolute rock. Great kids. I've got twin boys who are absolutely great. My partner's son is a real good guy as well. So we've got everything we think we want, right? You know, but I ended up 30 seconds away from taking my own life because I've become so unhappy inside. It's really perverse, isn't it? And when people talk about that, they say, oh, well, that was really selfish. It honestly wasn't. I thought that being an entrepreneur, we create opportunities out of chaos. And I thought I was creating so much chaos around me that actually the world would be better off without me, because I had no balance of sense of achievement. All I was feeling was all the chaos and the negative and the hassle and the confrontation and all the stuff that goes with being an entrepreneur. So I ended up, so as I say, 30 seconds from that place of no return. And what was really quite worrying was that I hadn't told anybody. This wasn't going to be a cry for help. This was a year's planning. This took me a year of constantly being ground down and down and down and down and down, to the point when I went, this is the best solution for everybody else. It was not about me. It was always the best solutions for somebody else. So I was about to disappear, and I was sitting at the farm table at the farm, and I knew exactly what I was doing, where I was going. I couldn't be a halfway house as a solution. It had to be all or nothing. I didn't want to create even more chaos for my loved ones and looking after me and stuff. So I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was about to go, and it was really weird. It was April 2015. It was a lovely, like, spring summer's day. The magnolia was in full bloom. It was lovely as blue skies. And I thought, wow, this is it. I suppose it's a good day to go. and,
Wow.
and a little bird, a little robin, come down and landed beside me on the garden table, the bench where I was sitting at, just like reflecting on things. And when this little robin sat beside me, it chirped, and I kind of looked at it. And I thought, well, why are you chirping? And I thought, it's either shouting out for its mate, calling out for its kids, or defending its turf, telling me to get out of its space. And I thought, crikey, actually, they're the most important three things that there are in this world. It's your kids, your partner, and security of your own turf. And when those three things hit me, Lucy, I thought, that's the most important three things. None of this material stuff, none of these cars and money and holidays and property and all that rubbish. No, this is the most important thing. So I got very angry with myself, and I remember shouting at myself, going, no, you're not going to do this, and really woke myself up. And I remember saying, no, my kids deserve better of me. My everything. No, I'm not. I swore. I'm not going to swear here, but I really swore at myself, right? And I backed myself out that corner. And then I had a kind of few days thinking, what on earth was going on? And then I started to reflect. I thought, I don't want to be in that place ever again. And if I've been in that place, the chances are lots of other people will be in that place too, right? Because we're all just human. We're all just normal, whatever the word normal means. We're all kind of human beings, right?
Yes.
So I thought, well, I need to understand three things here. What drove me to that point? So why did I feel the way I felt? Why did I do the things that I did? And actually, what can I be to be who I want to be for myself and my loved ones? Not for the world, not for social media, not for the media. It's like, how can I be who I really want to be for myself and my loved ones? That's it. And then, so I went on a journey, and I spent the next 5 years discovering that. I then studied with the Swiss School of Business Research. I just will add, actually, one little point before I mention this, that all those years to create that wealth was a huge task. And I learned a lesson, which is the quickest way to make a small fortune. And the answer is to start with a bigger one.
Okay.
Because the slippery slope of coming down and making really bad decisions, because everything around me, although that created me all that material success, that's also what created all my stress. And I wanted to get away from it. So I made so many emotionally charged, self-sabotage decisions over the next 2 years. I lost everything. And went bust and started all over again. So at the age of 52, it was kind of control, alt delete, and you're going to start your life all over again. So that's exactly what I did. So I went right back to base and started all over again. And then I started my journey that I was just mentioning. So I went back to school, basically, and I studied with the Swiss School of Business Research and to answer those three questions. And that took me quite a few years to do that. During that period, I obtained my PhD with the Swiss School of Business Research in Business Mindset Management, which is what my PhD is all about. I'm not a GP. I then also, from my works, and then wrote myself a book as well, because I realised that most people live on autopilot. Yes, snap! We've won a prize. So I realised that most people live their life on autopilot 95% of the time. They just don't know what they're doing. They're always doing what they've always done and always winning what they've always won. So I thought, hang on a minute, if I've been like that, so's everybody else. So this book, Quick Wake Up the Pilot, is all about enabling people to wake up their inner autopilot and understand where it's taking them. Because if it's taking them to somewhere they don't want to go, they've got to do something about it and wake it up and change the direction where they're going. And it's that good old phrase, which I know you've probably heard me say before, but you know what? If we always do what we've always done, we'll always win what we've always won. And when I work one-to-one with clients, because I do a few things now, I work one-to-one with clients, I do talking on stage, I put events on. But when I'm working with people one-to-one, they always turn up and they sit beside me and I say, okay, and we have a little chat. And the thing that always comes out is everybody wants a different outcome. Everybody wants something different from the output, right? Whether it's more money, more life, more time, more freedom, whatever it may, everyone wants a different output. But then I say, okay, what's your input? What's your different input? And people look at me a bit blank and they say, well, nothing. I was like, well, that's Einstein's theory of madness, right? If you continue to do the same thing and expect a different outcome, that's madness. So we've got to change the input. But most people then say, well, how do I change the input? And that's what I do. So I show people how to change the awareness of how they think so they can rewire their thinking for success. They can get their mojo back and then be who they really want to be for themselves and their loved ones.
An incredible story. It really is. You mentioned that you wanted to come back to, you mentioned about the happiness in the here and now.
Yeah. So sometimes when we're overwhelmed with emotion and stress and trauma, we end up living life on autopilot because we have inbuilt coping mechanisms, right? I always explain this when I first sit one-to-one with people, what we actually do. I don't know if I've got one here, actually. Oh, I have. So when I sit with people, first of all, I do what's called a handbrake session, which is all around, oops, there we go. It's all around this. And what this is, if we look at the brain here, when we sit down and do handbrake sessions with people, I guarantee them that when we sit down at the end of the first session, which is only about 80 minutes, I guarantee to find out the thing that's holding them back. That's why we call it a handbrake. I use an analogy of a car. You know, if you're in a car, if you don't take the handbrake off, you're never going to reach your full potential to get across that race line or to go where you want to go. Sure, we can put a bigger engine in, we can put a louder exhaust, we can do whatever you want to do, but go faster stripes on it if you like. It's never going to go anywhere until you take the handbrake off. And that's what I do when I work with people. I guarantee that spending 80 minutes with me, I will identify what that handbrake is. And if I don't, and you don't accept it, it's a full refund there and then. It's as clean as that. But do you know what? Luckily, I've never had to do a refund because I always find what the handbrake is every time. And then when we then spend the next sort of 5 sessions together, it's all about actually I show people how to let that handbrake go. So they can actually let the handbrake go and then be who they really want to be, you know, zip off down towards the race line. But to come back to your question, it's what we always do when we're working through the handbrake session, I show and enable people to see for themselves how they operate when they go into an emotional, stressful, traumatic state. And what happens is we then operate from the unconscious mind, where we live 95% of the time. And the unconscious mind is completely emotional and it runs our life based upon our learnt behaviors, experiences, habits, the stuff that we've done to keep us alive till date, it will keep redoing to keep us alive. Even if it's something as silly as, you know, some people have a spider phobia, don't they? Right? They see a little tiny spider running across and they're, oh, got to get away from it. Right. Yeah. The reality is, if we look at that from a completely unemotional, pragmatic point of view, seeing a money spider crawling across your face is never, ever going to harm you. Never, right? But it's our emotional side takes off as a stress response by the part of the brain called the amygdala that goes, whoa, how did we deal with this last time? Last time I went into a panic and that kept me alive. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. And you automatically go into a stress response, evoke a panic, learnt behavior, habit. What did I do? This is what happens, right? And it's exactly the same with I'll be happy when, because when we get into a thought process of I'll be happy when, in other words, we're always looking into the future. We're always programming our minds that happiness lays in the future. That then becomes a learnt behavior, and a learnt behavior is a habit. And whenever we're looking for things, we don't see things in the here and now. I'll give you the complete opposite example to that, Lucy. Have you ever had it when you were thinking about buying a new outfit or a new sofa or a new car, or you was thinking about bringing something new or different into your life? And then lo and behold, you start seeing it everywhere else. Every other bugger's got one as well. And you're thinking, hang on a minute, I was going to have a blue one of those. Everyone's got a blue one. How does that work, right? And that's a part of the brain called the reticular activation system, which is the part of the brain at the back. And that gets us used to life living with that new thing. So that when we are living with that new thing, it becomes part of a normal way of life. And we hear a lot of the younger generation, especially talking about manifestation. Right? And I do a lot of work about manifesting and manifestation. And I
Okay.
can explain exactly how it works and how to manifest what you want. And it's not what you think. So
Okay.
most people think it's going to be, okay, right, Ferrari, 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 Ferrari. Where's my Ferrari? Right? And it never happens, right? It's not what you think, it's how you think. It's all manifestation is all about how you think. And that's what I do. I show people how to change their thinking, how to rewire their brain and their thinking for success. It's just a complete different way of thinking, which is what switched on thinking is, which is my methodology of showing people. So to really answer your question very clearly about I'll be happy when we set our mind to think a certain way, we then predict the outcome, and then our unconscious mind makes sure we deliver on that outcome. So when our unconscious mind gets the instruction, I'll be happy when, that in black and white says, okay, the opposite to that is not to be happy now. It's always a flip side. Yeah. It's
Mm.
like the fear of rejection is, am I good enough? You know, and the reason why we have that fear built in us is because we want to belong part of a tribe because we're hardwired as a tribal species, right? So
Yes.
we want to be part of a tribal species where we can live together, love together, be together, safe together. We're safety in numbers, human beings. That's what we are. And we want to be part of those tribes. That's why we've got football teams, right? That's why we have, say, I'm not a football bloke, right? But if we got like Arsenal, Chelsea and Millwall, for instance, they're three very different teams, three very different cultures and values and beliefs. That's why if you get somebody who's a tribe member of one, you don't normally see them then go to the tribe member of the other one because it's a different value set, a different mindset. It's all different. And that's exactly the same as us as human beings. When we want to belong to a tribe of like-minded people, it's like the great networking events called Suki Rio, Rookie CEO. That's a new name,
That
isn't
was
it?
incredible. I'm going to keep that in.
Suki Rio. So I love their network, right? But their network, when you look at it
Clarify,
from
that was the rookie CEO. Just
yes,
clarify
not
that.
Suki at all. That's so funny. They are a great network, right? I mean, and what I love about when I've been to those events, you can see it's a tribe. It's a tribe of people that love together, you know, like being together. They think together, they feel together. It's like-minded people all helping love and support each other, right? And that's what a tribe is. And when a person goes to join Rookie CEO, not Suki Rio, they
Sorry.
in their mind, as all of us have done, when we turn up at networking events, we have that little awkwardness that thinks, I've got to go and start talking to people. What they're going to think of me? Am I going to be good enough? And it all comes from the flip side of wanting to be part of the tribe. That's all the fear of rejection. Just like when we were younger and it was like, you know, seeing that person on the dance floor and asking them for a dance, there was always that fear of rejection because will I be good enough? And that's hardwired in us for protection.
Do you notice or have you found that there's a particular mindset pattern that you see often with like business owners, for example, even really capable, experienced ones? Do you find that there's one particular one that's more common?
Yeah, I do. And you know, and it's, I'm gonna. Oh, this is such a hard one to answer because some business owners and entrepreneurs are in business because they've inherited it, right? So, and they're not. Oh, that I wouldn't put them in the same category as grassroots business owners that have started from afresh, you know, because they've kind of been given a business, they've inherited a business, so they've already got all the assets, they've already got the collateral. I'm not saying it's not hard work because it really is hard work, right? You know, growing a business of any kind, whether you've been given it, inherited it, or whatever, because that then brings its own challenges. I work with a client at the moment that's inheriting his business from his parents. And that's particularly difficult because the parents don't want to let go. And that creates all sorts of issues. So it's not just always a golden spoon. Sometimes it's golden handcuffs as well. You know, it's like a real difficult one. But, you know, there's always that desire in grassroots entrepreneurs that something happened to them when they were younger. Something happened to them where they either felt they missed out, they wanted to do something better. They wasn't quite good enough. They was told by somebody in a position of authority, whether it's a teacher or a parent or somebody that, you know, I'm not sure what you're going to make of yourself in this life. All those kinds of things, or the little reports at the end of your school homework, could do better, all that kind of stuff. There's always something in there, which is the flip side, which is the rebelling against. I'm not going to do that because they said this, so I'm going to do this instead. And then it tends to be the people that don't step up to those entrepreneurial ways are the people that kind of accept those instructions. I'm working with another client at the moment. I'm going to call him Fred, right? It's not his real name, but I'm going to call him Fred.
Okay.
Fred is a guy that was brought up, and he, in his own words, he didn't have the best start in life, so he was always kind of pre-programmed under the era 7. By the way, the part of our mind which creates our focus, conscious intent, I talk about 95% unconscious, 5% conscious. 5% conscious, the prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until you're about 7 years old. So as kids, as children, we just don't have that part of the brain. It doesn't exist. That's why kids have no gatekeeper. That's why kids up until the era 7 will just believe just about anything, like Father Christmas and all that kind of stuff, because they've got no ability to critique what's going on. It's called the critical faculty of the brain. It's the part of the brain that which stops you getting carried away with yourself, basically. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't form until you're 7 years old. And that's the challenge, is that most people, when they're told stuff at a younger age, they either accept it or dismiss it. And if they accept it, then their unconscious mind then delivers on it. If they're told between the years of 0 to 7, you're never going to be any good, you're not going to come to much, that can go one or two ways. They can either accept it, and that's what their life becomes, because that's what the unconscious programming says. This is what you'll always be, right? Or they'll reject it and they'll go against it.
My son's literally just turned 7, so that's very apt in my mind right now.
Brilliant. And it's just... do you know what though? This stuff that we're talking about now, why aren't we teaching this to our kids? That's the big question I have, because we teach them how to do all the stuff like algebra and trigonometry, which I'm sure might be useful to someone somewhere in the world. But the mainstream people, why don't we teach them these life skills of actually how to understand yourself, so you understand your own mind, your own mindset, your quirks and positives, because we've all got them, right? We're all a bit weird somewhere. So let's understand those and make something of those. But more importantly, when we can understand ourselves, we can understand other people. Yeah. Because if we're just sitting here in a blindfold saying, okay, well, this is my world, I'm just going to grow up, go to school, go to university and go and become whatever it may be, it's quite blinkered, because we only understand things from that point of view. What we really need to do is actually understand the much bigger picture, that as human beings, sure, we've all got the same anatomy and biology, but we're all very, very different. We're all wired up very, very differently, and we need to accept that. We need to celebrate that. We need to understand that, because when we understand and celebrate that, that enables us to thrive, because we then feel safe. We're back to that tribe thing. When we're with people that understand us and we feel safe around, we thrive.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot out there in the ether at the moment about mindset and the concept of it, and it's on lots of social media posts, and there are lots of self-help books and things like that. How do you distinguish what you do from what some people might see as being kind of more like surface level positivity?
Yeah, I can. So I'm going to delve into a territory here which could be really debatable.
Okay.
Because it's a territory where there is so much volatility at the moment, so much media coverage. All right. So from anyone listening to this, just give me a few minutes to get through my preamble before you slaughter me. All right. So the challenge is the word mental health. And what I mean by that is that if we just look at those two words, mental health, first of all, what they should really stand for is mental health. And I'm saying the obvious, right? But that's what it should be. Just like if we look at physical health, we know that means physical health, right? We know what that means. If I was to say to you, like, that person's got physical health, you would automatically think of all the good stuff about them. You wouldn't think the negative stuff about them physically, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with mental health. If I was to say that person's got mental health, most people would switch to the negative thinking. They would think they've got something wrong with them, that in their words, right? So I'm actually moving away now. I don't like using the term mental health, because it always starts off with a negative bias. It conjures up all the negativity. So when I work with business owners and entrepreneurs, of all methods and means and ways of life, it always starts off with, okay, do we want to be stuck doing what you've always done? That if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. Or do you want to change something for a different output? And everyone knows we've got to change something for a different output, right? Not many people want to stay where they are. Some people do. Fine, that's great. If that's what floats your boat, lovely. You've got what you want, which is fantastic. But if you don't, if you want something different, we've got to change the input. So what I found over the years working with people is when I focus working with people, if we focus on their mental health, okay, it always by default goes to the negative. Negative mindset and mental health conditions only come from one place, which is the past. Okay. You can't have a negative mindset experience now or the future without building it on a past experience, which is giving you the ability to think this is what's going to happen next, right? Because that's happened before. Because if you went to the lottery and you knew that every time you put a pound on, you was always going to win, your mindset would be, well, I always put a pound on, I'm always going to win, right? If your mindset is, well, you put a pound on and you very rarely win, that's what your mindset is going to be. I know I'm bringing this right into basics, but whatever happens to us in the past is what presents ourselves as the future and the likely outcome based upon where we are now. Because if we look at 3 time zones, if we've got the past, the present, and the future, the only thing which is real is now. Because the past has gone, and unless you're Marty McFly with a skateboard, we can't go back and change the past, right? We can't do anything about it. The only thing we can have an input in is right here, right now. And even the future, it doesn't exist. Now, of course, the opportunities in the future exist, but we're bringing those opportunities and thoughts and feelings into the here and now to create excitement and opportunity about the future. Because we can't time travel to the future, it hasn't happened yet, because any one of us could have a sliding doors moment and our future is totally different to what it could have been 5 minutes ago. So we only have to focus on the here and now. However, if we focus on the here and now in mental health, which has got a bias towards a negative trait, it means all we're going to do is look back at the past as our negative learnt behaviors and experiences consciously and unconsciously to determine how we feel now. And to be honest, Lucy, if all of us sit in the here and now and look back at the past in a negative way, not just mental health, but just look at our negative ways that we've had in life. And if we look back and reflect on that, we're all going to be pretty fed up because whatever we think, whatever we bring forward from the past, if it's negative stuff, it's going to make us feel that in the here and now. Likewise, if we think back to really positive stuff in the past, that brings us back to a positive frame set in the here and now. So hopefully people haven't shut me down so far by saying that I move away from using the terms mental health, because what I use is a slightly different term, which is mental wealth. Because mental wealth is moving forwards. I don't mean wealth as in money. I mean wealth as in bettering yourself for yourself and your loved ones. It's accepting that here and now is where we are. And do you know what, Lucy? I challenge everybody who's listened to this. All of you will have skeletons in the cupboard. Every single one of us as human beings have done things we wish we hadn't have done, have been involved with things we wish we hadn't have been involved in. We've all got past relationships which we'd rather not been involved with. We've all got skeletons in the cupboard, but that makes us who we are in the here and now, right here, right today. And we have to celebrate that. And we have to go, do you know what? I can carry on reliving my past, but all that's going to do is make my future exactly the same as my past. Or I can say, right, that wardrobe in the cupboard with all my skeletons in it, I can't do anything about it, so I might as well just accept that what it's done is it's brought us to here and now, right here today. And if you and me, Lucy, if we'd have made any single decision in the past 12 weeks differently to what we did do, we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. You know, there's all those different micro decisions, like whether you turned up to go to an event where we bumped into each other. If that particular, you decided to stay at home and have a cup of tea instead, if that had happened, we would never have met, right? Those little tiny, have a massive sliding doors moment. So that's why I really focus on people saying, right, okay, let's just accept what's gone on has gone on. Let's close the door on that. Okay, we're not saying it's all good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we just need to close the door on it because we can't change it. Because if we're trying to change something we can't change, that becomes really tiring. And the unconscious mind doesn't know that. And it will just keep processing to try and make a change in the past, which is impossible to change. And it becomes tiring. And that's why people end up with fatigue and chronic fatigue syndrome, because they're trying to change things they can't change. So it's like having the handbrake on and you're spinning the wheels. And in the end, something goes wrong, something goes pop, whether it's a tire bursting or whether someone has a breakdown. You get to a point where you just got to let go of the past and move on, which is letting go of your handbrake. Hopefully that answers the question.
I don't know what the question was now, but yeah. So if someone is listening to this today and they resonate a lot with what you've
Yeah.
said, what would be the first thing you'd suggest that they do before they speak to anyone or
Yeah.
invest in anything? What would you say to them?
Okay, do you know what I do? I suggest they get a bit of blank paper. They put 2 lines down it, so you've got 3 columns on a paper. You'd write the top of each column. On the left, you write past. In the middle, you write present. And on the right, you write future. Okay. And on that past, present, and future, in the middle, you write down presently, and at the top of it, you draw a happy face, like a little smiley face at the top of it, right? So you've got 3 columns, and the top middle one, you've got a happy smiley face. And in that middle column, all you write in there is the things that make you have a happy smiley face. Okay? Just one words like family, last birthday party, holiday, all that kind of stuff. Whatever's going on makes you happy, right? Then look back at the past, and then with that positive mindset that you've now got, think of all the positive stuff that's gone on in the past, right? And then you'll bring up previous events, all that kind of stuff. And then on the other side of the 3 columns, the right-hand one, so the right-hand column, you've got happiness, and you've got present in the middle, past to the left, and on the right one, right there, all the good stuff that's going to come your way. Right, so that might be, oh, I've got some opportunities, I've got some new podcasts, I'm doing this, I'm doing all the positive stuff, right? And then draw a line underneath that, right? What you've done there, you've used the positive mindset of the here and now to frame your past and your future, right? And a little experiment, underneath that, now draw a sad face, right? And underneath that, in the next column down, sad face in the middle, and write down the things that are making you right sad at the moment. Right? And you might put down anything that's affecting you, making you sad at the moment. Then to the left, underneath where you put the happy past, put underneath it all the stuff that make you sad in the past. Okay? And you'll write those things down there. Now, here's the experiment. In the right-hand column, which is your future, now you've just brought to yourself in the here and now your sad experiences, what makes you sad now, what made you sad in the past. Write all the stuff about sadness in the future. And I bet, just looking at you right now, and the people listening to this, even myself, our mood has changed. Our mood has gone right down, right? And when we're trying to think about things in the future, when from a sad point of view, we'll be thinking, what's the point? And I feel pretty hopeless. I'm like, oh my God, why is this all happening? What we've just proven right here, right now, is whatever mindset you're in the here and now has a direct impact on your future. So if we just go back up a level, back to the happy here and now, we're in the happy here and now, we're back to that lovely positive place again, and we're looking back at the positive events that have made us really buoyant and happy, and we look at the here and now, it's great, we've got this going on, and look at the future again, suddenly the future's bright and sunny again. Nothing has changed apart from your mindset. That's the power of mindset. That's the power of actually your perception of your future. And it all lies within you. So I would strongly suggest anyone that's sitting in a dark place at the moment, feeling a bit fed up, not quite sure where to go, what to do, just do that first exercise, just the happy one. You don't need to do the sad one because you're already there if that's the way you feel. Just do the happy one. Look back at happy past, look at happy now. What does your future look like? And I guarantee you, it will take you to a much happier place.
That's so interesting. I'm going to do that straight after this, actually. I'm going to go make my husband do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, right? The thing is, though, Lucy, there's so much of this. We probably just touched, I don't know, 2% of the iceberg of the stuff that we can cover. There is so much more stuff, but it all starts with one word beginning with A. And that one word that can help anybody achieve whatever they want to achieve in life. It doesn't start with M, so it's not manifestation. It starts with the letter A, and it's awareness. It's awareness of self and others. When you have awareness of self and others, we can start to create miracles, but it's having awareness in the first place.
Obviously, I think we need to touch on the Be Your Brand event.
Yes.
You had your first one recently, it was in April, but you do have another one in the pipeline. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so Be Your Brand. What this event's about, it's not about logos and branding and colours and websites and all that kind of stuff. It's about enabling, my passion is helping business owners and entrepreneurs be who they want to be for themselves and their loved ones. That's it in a box. That's all there is. And what I found was when I was going around quite a few networking events and training events, there were so many budding business owners and entrepreneurs that had absolutely everything they wanted to achieve in life, but they all missed one thing, which was actually the ability to take ownership of their own brand. I remember being in a conference talking about social media marketing and planning, and everybody agreed you had to get on video. That was the key. The king of moving forwards is being on video. 85% of the room, Lucy, didn't want to be in front of the video.
Yeah.
85%. And it's like, crikey, we need to do something about that, because the video is king. You are your brand, you know. Your business, Crescent Podcast, wouldn't exist without Lucy. Your whole business wouldn't be you without Lucy. People buy people, people buy you. Just like people.
All the time, yeah.
Right. If I was here, if we didn't have my video on today, no one would be watching it. They would have gone ages ago, right? Because we need to engage in the visual and the auditory aspects of it, right?
Yeah.
So Be Your Brand is all about enabling business owners and entrepreneurs to really step up to their own plate, to take ownership of their own brand, to really be who they want to be. But better than that, it's equipping them with all the tools to do it. And what I do with Be Your Brand is we have loads, well, we had 8 speakers last time, plus myself, all delivering one light bulb moment for everybody to go away with. And that one light bulb moment per speaker, it's not about the speaker saying, oh, this is how fantastic I am. It's not about that. It's about them using their experience to deliver one light bulb moment to enable the audience to take something away to change the way they do business and change the way they change, their world. So Be Your Brand is all about that. The next one is on September the 29th. At the Village Hotel. It runs from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. It's a full day. It's interactive. It's fun. If you haven't seen the videos online, there's some new videos going to be coming out of a montage of what's been going on. I know that there was some great social media posts about it afterwards as well. Do you know, and I've got to say, Lucy, one of the amazing things, that was the first time we've ever put that event on. First time ever. And at the end, we did a feedback score. Out of 5, how did you feel the event went? There was 3 categories, like quality of speakers, the value of the event, and overall. And I was so chuffed with this. We got 4.52 out of 5 across the board. For our first ever event, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's incredible. I was there. It was a brilliant event, and I'm definitely coming to the next one as well. I thought it was really good. A lot of value there, for sure.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
So, as we draw this to a close, the last question I always ask my guests is, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, crikey. What? That's a vulnerable one, isn't it? The advice I would give to my younger self is, don't worry about what people think about you, because they're not worrying about you.
Yeah, everyone's much busier worrying about themselves.
Do you know what? Everybody, I don't care who they are, and I challenge everyone on this, every human being has got something tattooed across their forehead, but we don't all see it. But it's there, and it says, what's in it for me? Right? Even people that I work with in like the care sector, they go, well, no, I'm not like that. And I say, okay, well, why do you do what you do then? And they say, well, I like to give back and help other people and do this and contribute to the community. I said, and how does that make you feel? It makes me feel good. Well, that's what's in it for you. You want to feel good about what you do. Fine, there's nothing wrong with it. That's just what motivates us. That's our ground zero motivation, is what's in it for me. And when we're working with people, we have to appeal to that and go, okay, well, how can I help them achieve their what's in it for them? Because that's what makes the world go round. Yeah,
definitely. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great talking to you. I've heard you speak many times, and I always pick out something new from what you say. So thank you very much for coming on.
Lucy, you're absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure to know you, and thank you for inviting me on this podcast. And as Lucy says, if anybody wants to reach out to me, please do. You can Google me as Dr. Ant. You can find me. You can contact Lucy. She's got my contact details too, and I'll be really happy to help.
That was what I was just about to say, that I'm going to put all your blurb and I've got all your contact information. I'll put it all in the blurb so that people know exactly where to find you. And if anyone does want to get in touch, my email is lucy@crescentdigitalmarketing.co.uk. I would love to hear from you if you've got any feedback. Please give us a follow and a like wherever you're consuming this episode. Very grateful for all your support. And as always, a big thank you to Purple Frog Science for being our sponsor. Thank you very much, Dr. Ant. And
thank you very much. Thank you.